Here we go. Let me
Welcome back, everybody.
start some.
Patrick Curley here with Gary Shevitz, the master deal architect, negotiator extraordinaire, TC agent, model.
You've been drinking too much Red Bull, definitely.
Yeah, I've had 3 cups of coffee, and this is now my first Red Bull, so I think I'm good to go.
That's got more caffeine than coffee, right?
You're probably right. I don't know. I tend to drink caffeine before these so that I can bring the fire. Um, so let me ask you something, Gary. This because lately I've been getting DMs and I get this question a lot. How do I get started? How often are you getting that question?
Um, I don't know. For me, it's fairly regular, right? Because we have a steady stream of new people coming into the mentorship all the time, and
Yeah.
it's fairly regular. And I always fall back on the standard answer: try wholesaling.
Yeah. Yeah, same. And so I was thinking about it today, and everyone's in different places, right, in their business. And I had this thought and I was thinking like, you know, I go over this stuff that like how to get started and the basics and the foundation. And sometimes I worry that if I go over that, people are going to get bored of it. But then I realize that even the most advanced real estate investors, entrepreneurs, athletes, they're always training the basics. They're always going over the basics. So what I thought I'd do to start off today would be to talk about my opinion on really how to make money in real estate, how to do it quickly and effectively, and the stages that there are to the game. So I kind of wanted to break that down. And then, guys, if you've got questions, because I'm going to be kind of like doing my own thing, or not doing my own thing, I'm going to be focused on this thing. Um, I would hold them, write them down, because I want to answer as many questions as we can in this Zoom, and so does Gary. All right, guys. Do I have the ability to share? I do. That's fantastic. So I was thinking about it today, and really the way that I look at this is becoming rich versus wealthy. And what do I mean by that? Well, I mean making money versus acquiring assets. And that's how I think of it. And so I think most people starting off, depending upon where you are, but most people, they're trying to make money, right? And you should really focus on this first, in my opinion. And I'm bringing this up because a lot of people, there's so many shiny objects, right? We're in creative finance. Oh, sub two, that looks so cool. I want to focus on that. I want to do this, that. But really, you should be focusing on what makes you money the quickest and most effective way, right? And in my opinion, it's wholesale, like Gary said. And you have really 2 categories here. You've got cash and creative. And in my opinion, what's going to make you more money more effectively, quicker, are cash deals. I think this is where most people should start. This should be the first thing you do, or you should be doing both cash and creative with a focus on cash. Now, you can only do all of this if you do it with focus and consistency, right? But how? Really, this is the biggest question, right? How do we do that? How do we become consistent? And this seems so basic, guys, but I see it all the time. I've had over 30 people on my team, and we're now down to like 10. Okay. How did I lose people? Because it's a misunderstanding of what motivation is. Motivation equals clarity. Let me give you an example of what motivation is not. When you guys hear Pace tell a story about him picking up a 50 unit deal and he's making $45,000 cash flow monthly and he's zero out of pocket, you're like, mind blown, right? And you get this sense of you're moved by it. Like, wow, he just did that. That's possible. That is not motivation. That is inspiration. And inspiration is the presence of possibility. This is not motivation, guys. And why I say that is people say this to me all the time. I'm having trouble staying motivated. And it's not because they're not excited. It's because they're relying on inspiration to drive them through their business. And that's not what motivation is. Motivation is clarity. So how do you get motivation and keep motivation? Number one, you got to have goals. And they got to be clear. I want to invest in real estate is not a goal. What do you want to do? How much money do you want to make this week, next week, the week after that, this month, this quarter, this year, next year? I was listening to a Zoom that Pace was holding, and he was talking about his 5-year goals with extreme clarity. This year, I'm doing this much money. We did this many units, so on and so forth. Next year, this is my goal in year 5. Like, he's got it mapped out, guys. Right? Clarity with those goals. Output. This is what kind of actions are you taking? And this is a huge one because people get stuck. Oh, I just don't know what to do. Right? Number 3 is the outcome. These are all things you need to be looking at and keeping track of. What results did you get from that? And guys, results doesn't necessarily mean cash. Results doesn't necessarily mean a closed contract. It means anything. I made this many, I dialed this many people, this many people picked up the phone. I spoke to this many people on this day. I had a conversation for this long. This is the average talk time that I had. This is how many conversations I had in a week, so on and so forth, right? What kind of results are you getting? Number 4 are your KPIs, which is key performance indicators. And this translates into conversion rates. So we just did a campaign in my team where we were doing cold outreach to agents, and this was completely blind. It was just pull information off the internet and text them. Okay. And what we found was 3% of agents, by the way, our data, meaning our accuracy on this was like 98% accurate in terms of contact info. 3% of them said, yeah, I'll get on the phone with you. The other 97% said, F off, stop, or I'm not interested, or they just didn't respond. And 1% of them, 1% brought us opportunities. Okay. So that's why, how do I know all that? Because I'm measuring everything. Right. Now, once you have this 1 through 4 here, what you want to do is you're constantly recalibrating.
Hey, I want to interrupt you a minute.
Yes, please.
So let's dive a little deeper in here.
Sure.
First of all, I wanted to share something. I'm going to take the screen share away for a minute.
Yeah, no problem.
And I mean, I think everybody here is familiar with that TV show, America's Got Talent.
Yep.
Let's see if I can pull this up here.
Did you ever get on there?
I thought I had this loaded.
I'm pretty sure I voted for you.
Oh, you did, huh? I just wanted to show you this guy. He was a contestant this past week. Now, this guy has no legs. None. I forget his name. I think it was Bryant. And I wanted to go back and look at the tape again. But talk about inspiration. You know what his recommendation to everybody is?
What is it?
Learn how to fail.
Yeah. 100%.
He became a top wrestler. So, I mean, if anybody has experienced failure in their life, this has to be the guy, right?
100%. Yeah.
He was an orphan. He grew up in the foster care system, and when he aged out, a woman adopted him. Anyway, my inspiration for today. So I wanted you to dive deeper into the goals while we're here. What kind of goals do people set? What makes a goal worth setting?
Yeah. I mean, you guys, it has to be measurable, right?
Measurable. Has
And
to
so,
be measurable.
yeah. And like, just to finish what I'm talking about here with this recalibrating, the reason that this is so important, guys, because I see people quitting. I see people stopping and they quit because they fail. Right. And the way I think about it, there's this analogy, right? I live next to SFO, San Francisco International, right? If I got on a plane at, boarding SFO and headed to Hawaii, if the plane is off by 1 degree, we're going to land in the Pacific Ocean. So the pilot is constantly recalibrating and focusing and shifting where they're at to make sure we hit our target, right? Could you imagine if the pilot operated the plane like most people live their lives? Right? Oh, I'm off. I'm just going to quit. Right? So yeah, exactly. It's going to crash right into the ground. So you have to recalibrate, and you can't do so unless you have goals, output, outcome, KPIs, and you're looking at how can I get better? What did I do? How can I stay consistent? How can I get better? And so really your goals, guys, in the beginning should be mostly focused on output. I'm going to make calls every single day this week, and I'm going to make 10 calls. That's my first goal, right? And you're going to measure that. Okay. And then once you do that, you can look back on that week and go, what happened out of those calls? Right? Is there a way for me to increase my conversions? Can I get more people on the phone? Can I get more people to stay on the phone for me longer? And then you look at the bottom here and you ask yourself, well, how can we recalibrate? How can we increase these numbers? How can I do more calls? Right? It sounds very simple, guys, but this is where people quit because they have no feedback loop built in. Right? So that all being said, you have to decide that you're going to take action. And really, like, I look at this as levels, right? And level 1 is the parking garage. Literally. Right? You're in the parking garage. And if you're in the parking garage, you haven't done 2 things. Number 1, permission. You haven't given yourself permission to believe in a goal that is compelling. That's something that gets you up in the morning and keeps you up at night. You have to give yourself permission. I hear people saying, well, I just don't know enough. And I reply with, well, how much would you have to know to get started? It's a silly notion. It's a silly idea, right? I'm not smart enough. Okay, well, how smart would you have to be? I'm not young enough. Okay, well, how young enough would you have to be? All of those reframing sentences, when you think about it, doesn't make any sense at all, guys. The second thing, besides permission, is you have to commit. And this is where people quit. I want you to imagine for a second, you're on your way to your W-2, you're driving your car and you get a flat tire. What do? You change it, right? Or you call AAA, you do something, but you go to your job, because if you don't, what's going to happen? You're going to get shit canned. If you treated your real estate business like a W-2, most of you guys would get a deal in the next week. Period. Right? And so I'm coming at you a little aggressive here because I've experienced this, guys, in my own team. People quit. Oh, it's hard. This isn't what I thought it was. And it's like, well, I mean, go back to your W-2 if that's what you want to do. That's fine. But you have to get real with yourself. If you commit, that means if you get a flat tire, you fix that thing and you get on the road and you keep driving, you will get results and you will get out of the parking garage. Level 1 is everything that we just talked about, this stuff. You have to be consistent. If you are not consistent, you're going to get nowhere. So consistency, 10 calls a day minimum, guys. Minimum. If you don't like making calls, I don't know. slap yourself in the face, do some push-ups, jump in the cold shower, do something. You have to figure out what motivates you. You have to figure out what gets you to move. Now, let me say in the chat right now, how many of you guys think you could handle 10 calls a day? Say yes. Say no if that's the truth too. Yes or no, guys? Can you handle 10 calls a day? Okay, good. That's what I want to see. It sounds simple, yeah, guys? Say, now, how many of you think 10 calls a day doesn't sound enough? Doesn't sound like enough? Say true. If you don't think it sounds like enough, say true in the chat. Not enough. See, 5, true, true, true. Everybody's like, not enough. Okay, out of all of you who've been, out of all of you that have been consistent, how many of you guys have been making 10 calls a day? Right? If you think about that, a lot of you are like, oh, I just didn't make 10 calls that day or whatever. Again, you got to set this goal, because if we break this down, if we really look at this mathematically, 10 calls a day, if there's 4.3 weeks in a month, you're looking at, if you're only working Monday through Friday, you're at 215 calls in a month. Now, if you made 215 calls, how many of you think you can close 1%? That's a super small number, guys. If you closed only 1%, you would literally be closing 2 deals and be making anywhere from, I would say, I forget what the thing is. I think it's like 4K max, right? 45K max. So that's 9K. And let's just say 4. You would be making 4 to 9K a month just in your real estate business. And all you had to do was do this one thing, this one simple thing that seems really easy, but for whatever reason, we're not consistent with. Is this making sense, guys? In the chat, let me know. If you feel like this is making sense and like you're getting something from this, say yes. Okay, now, if you can do this, if you can be consistent, you can be on a team or start a team. And that's level 2. Level 2 is you have systems. And if you're consistent in level 1, you should start developing those. Those are like customer management relationship program, CRM, systems, standard operation procedures, team members, specifically what I call lead managers. And then you should have at least one closer on your team. This is somebody who can have difficult conversations, who can negotiate, who can close. Okay. And you want a brand. You want a seller and or agent facing brand. It's a website, guys. You got to have a website. You have to have company information. You have to have a presence. You don't have to be posting on social media all day. In fact, that's a waste of time, guys. Don't worry about that. Don't listen to, all these influencers or that, you need to be posting multiple times a day. You need to be getting on the phone and closing deals. That's what you guys need to be doing. Okay. And in my opinion, you're technically a level 2 if you have a minimum of 1 deal a month. And remember, we said up here, you should be closing 2 at 1%. This is level 2. Most people, guys, will never get here. I'm sorry to burst your bubble. That's because they're not in this Zoom right now. They're too tired to be here right now. They're too busy. They didn't make the time to be here and hang out with Gary and I. Gary and I are so fun to hang out with, right, Gary?
We're what?
We're so fun to hang out with.
Oh, tons.
I don't know what they're thinking not hanging out with us. Most people won't get here, guys. They won't put in the work. Guys, I wanted to quit. How many times did I want to quit, Gary?
Oh my goodness. Right before you busted out in success, you were ready to jump off
I really was.
the planet.
I really was.
You were actually looking for a job.
No joke, guys. That's the true story. I was taking interviews for another job and I knew
it was like only like a couple weeks later, the dam burst.
Literally.
Yeah.
I knew a director of marketing at this company that I knew, and I was like, okay, I'm just going to use my background because it's something I can rely on. I'm good at it. And I thought I was a shoo-in. I knew the guy. We were great rapport, went through the whole process. I get the denial email, and something shifted inside of me, guys. I got pissed. I got angry. And I was like, you have to make this work. And I made it work, guys. I looked back at everything that I was doing, and I realized that I wasn't doing this. Number one, I wasn't even out of the parking garage, guys. I didn't believe I could do it. I hear a lot of people say, oh, I have imposter syndrome. Get that shit out of your mind. If you have the intention of helping people, you can do this. Okay. That's what I think about every day. When I think about, am I really good at this? Or, if I have that thought, I push it out of my head and I go, doesn't matter what you think, Patrick, you're helping people. Okay. So level 3, this is advanced, but we're going to go over it anyways, because everybody's at different places. And I'll tell you right now, I'll be honest with you guys. Right now, this is where I'm at in my business. We're here. We're doing multiple transactions every month. We have systems and SOPs. We have a brand. We're actually doing joint venture deals now, which is extra revenue. And we're right in the middle of rebranding, building another website, and we're in talks with marketing companies as we speak. And as I'm on this Zoom with you, I have team members texting and making calls as I'm talking with you guys. Okay. So level 3, this is when things get, way more advanced. This is when you have marketing. You're spending money on marketing every month, and inbound leads are coming in. You have cold callers. You have lead managers. And you have either a closer or closers on your team. Okay. That's level 3. And so you might be saying to yourself, wait a minute, Patrick, cold callers, aren't I supposed to do that on level 1? I can't tell you how many people I've heard spend money on marketing and they just blow it because they have no processes. They don't know how transactions work. They don't know how sales works, and they just don't have the experience, but they're spending money on marketing because that's what some guru told them. In the chat, guys, how many of you guys have blown money on marketing and got nothing out of it? Guys, I'm raising my hands. That was me. That was the first thing I did. I was like, I got a marketing background. Watch this. I thought I was going to blow everybody out of the water. And I burned through money, guys. You got to start at the beginning. Okay. Now, level 4, arguably level 4, 3 and 4 can kind of meld together in certain aspects, in my opinion. And this is another mistake that I see people making. In my opinion, level 4 is what I refer to as revenue optimization. What does that mean? That means you are taking your leads and you're making more money out of them. So maybe you're taking those leads and you're flipping yourself. And also dealing with private money lenders. And again, I think that in the respect of like private money, I think you could be doing that on level 3. In fact, I'm already doing it on level 2. I have private money lenders and I'm the person who is connecting them with flippers, and I'm making points out of those transactions just by introducing those people inside of escrow. Okay. So really that's basically how I see this, guys. At the very top of this, you got to figure out, what am I going to focus on? Is it cash or creative? You can do both, but again, you need to be focused with consistency. You have to understand what motivation is. It's clarity. It's not that fuzzy feeling you get when you watch YouTube videos, guys. That's not it. That's inspiration. You got to have a feedback loop of goals, output and action, outcome of what results you're getting. You got to be measuring these KPIs, and you have to consistently be asking yourself, how can I get better? Once you give yourself permission and you commit to doing this, you'll get out of the parking garage and be on level 1. This is it. This is when the rubber hits the road, guys, and you guys will start getting momentum. Pace said one thing in a Zoom one time, and I'll never forget it. He said, all anybody ever needs in their business is momentum and money. And that has always stuck in my head. I might put something on my wall sooner or later that says momentum and money, because this is where it happens right here. This is where it happens. Where you start closing deals and you're like, holy shit, I can do this. After that, you set up your systems, SOP, you find team members, you squad up. You can squad up now, by the way, too. Even in level 1 and level parking garage, you can squad up in the parking garage.
I'm sorry, Patrick, what does it say next to inspiration?
It says, I'm just kidding. It says the presence of possibility.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
That's what, when you see like, if you watch sports, right? You watch LeBron just slam dunk over somebody, you're like, damn. And you get this feeling like that somebody just did something incredible. You might want to go pick up a basketball and shoot some hoops. It got you to move, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to keep you in momentum. What's going to keep you moving is clarity and your approach to how you run your business on a day-to-day basis and this feedback loop. It's not looking ahead, it's looking behind that's going to motivate you. I can say that in my first year of real estate, I only made about 25K. And in my second year, in 1 quarter, I made 6 figures. So it's not looking forward, it's looking back that's going to motivate you guys.
What was
Okay?
the difference?
The difference was a breakthrough. And a lot of people ask me, well, what's a breakthrough and how did you have it? Like it's a single factor, but it's not. It's multiple things. And so a breakthrough comes, number one, with everything that I just said, right? You have to have that structure, but you have to know how to source a lead, how to vet it, which means, is it a deal or no deal? Yes or no? How to triage it. Does it need my attention now? Right? How to underwrite it, which is comping, and also associating your exit strategy with it. So are you going to wholesale it? Is it a buy and hold? Is it even a good deal in the first place? And then from there, you have to know how the transaction works. And then you have to be able to know how disposition works. Oops. So by disposition, I mean how to find buyers and sell it to those buyers. Once you know how to source leads consistently, vet them to whether or not they're even a deal in the first place that's worth your time, figure out when they need your time, underwrite it, comp it, figure out what kind of exit strategy you need to do. Oh, I didn't put negotiate in here, did I? Negotiate. Then the transaction, then dispo. So there are 7 steps to a breakthrough.
So let's take a break for a second and Rez has a question. Rez, can you start your video so I can spotlight you? So what's up, Rez? There are no dumb questions. The dumb questions are the ones you don't ask.
You're also muted, Rez.
Yeah, you got on mute now.
Okay, I'm going to test that stupid barrier. So here we go. What I have done is that I've taken very careful notes and I've built worksheets for market research based on Privy. And I started just last night documenting 20 sales in various areas. The purpose of that exercise being learning what is a good deal where. Okay. And right now it seems like random dots on the page. So it seems like what I should do is keep doing that and until it starts producing insights. Insights like who are the players who are likely to be buyers who may want to engage my help in finding their next deal and so on, right? Because you need to start out by finding the buyers, but to find the buyers, you need to understand what their needs and requirements are. That's the purpose of that market research worksheet. Then separate from that, I have a deal CRM worksheet to try to move into that deal worksheet, the things that could be a good conversation with an agent. Right now, I cannot conceive of making 10 phone calls because I don't have 10 people to call. Given that context, please, what guidance, advice do you have? And in advance, thank you.
All right, this sounds like you're overthinking,
Okay,
overanalyzing, overthinking. And that's like one of the first traps that smart people fall into. Go for it, Patrick. Yeah.
Well, no, I'm raising my hand
You're
because
guilty.
I'm the one who fell into that trap.
He would,
fine.
Patrick
So
would do
what
that
do I do?
constantly. I
So
was
Rez,
after him constantly about that.
one of the first things that I chose to do that was actually the step in the right direction was not focus on disposition at all. And so I want you to hear me very clearly, guys. Eventually, when you want to get to level 2, you need to figure out disposition, but not now. Your number one goal should be what? What should your number one goal be? What do you guys want to, why are you guys here? Let me ask you that in the chat. Why are you here? Ultimately, why are you here? I know it's not to hang out with us. I mean, I
They
know,
want to do deals. Come on, people, wake up.
guys, what are you getting deals, making money? Thank you. Chris
Right.
nailed it.
You know what? If you
Make
find
money,
a deal, you can
money, money,
find
money.
someone like Patrick to help you dispo it. Bring
Yep.
it to Patrick, join JV.
The
You
fastest
have
way
to
for
make
you
the
guys-
whole profit the first deal. You can make half the profit the first deal, whatever it is. Get that momentum going. Eventually, you'll be able to write your own ticket.
Yep, that's it. The first thing I did was I linked up with Gary. I linked up with Ty Guerrero in NorCal, Steve Anderson in SoCal. I said, who's doing deals? Because I want to meet these guys. And I told them, look, I'm going to bring you leads. And can you help me close these leads? And they said, hell yeah. And that's what I did. And that's how I got my first deal. I focused solely on creating opportunities and then trying to get them to a point where they were ready to sign on the dotted line. And then I would scurry over to somebody that had experience and said, help, I don't know what to do. I got this person who's ready to sign a contract. I don't even have a contract. I didn't have my paperwork together. I didn't even know how transactions worked, but I knew just enough to help somebody out of the situation that they were currently facing with creative finance. My first deal was a seller finance deal, believe it or not. Right. So when you say you don't have 10 people to call, you're wrong. There's thousands of agents out there. What I would do is find the ones that have fixers and I would reach out to them and try to work on those deals first. It is going to be a grind, and that's okay. That's part of the process.
Well, you got to start talking to people.
Yep.
You have to start having conversations because you're not going to get good at it looking at things on paper. You're only going to get good at it by starting to have those conversations, placing those calls, identify the distressed properties, look for ones that have been sitting on market for a while, because that's a good indication they're overpriced or you might be able to make a deal on it. The other thing you can do is look for the ones hitting the market today and be the first one to call. Start having those conversations.
Right. And so I want to be very clear that, on market opportunities, they're tough. I'm going to put this video in the chat. I just posted it to Circle. If you guys haven't already watched it, watch it later, but I renegotiate price in that video. And that's a very difficult skill to learn, but it's a very valuable one to learn. And most of the time, that's what it's going to be. If it's on market, you're going to have to lock it up and work them on price. And knowing how to do that will help you become successful. But why would if I were to say off market direct to agent is definitely going to make you more money than going direct to MLS, but why would I have you go direct to MLS first? Well, you're going to learn more. You're going to learn way more in that amount of time, and you're going to get the knowledge that you need to get to level 2. Okay. So yes, you are overthinking things. Rez, I know this because I'm the same type of creature. You and I, we drink from the same stream. Okay. I'll always overthink everything, but all of you guys should be focused on one thing and one thing only, and that's making money. And how you do that is creating opportunities. And then you run like hell to an elephant leader or us, and you say, what do I do next? And then we help you close.
And you guys have shared your criteria in writing and your prior calls and so on. How is it, and your answer was when you have a lead, send a DM. Got it. how do you like your lead information presented? I think you gave a cogent list of, here's the stuff we want to know, and it had like 6 items in it. So just list those 6 things.
Guys, if you're listening to this, what she just asked is extremely important because even my team members now that have years of experience will mess this up. I want you to write this down if you've got something to write with, or if you've got a notepad open on your computer. It's COMPT, C-O-M-P-T, C-O-M-P-T. The first one is condition. What's the condition like? If there's pictures online, that's great, but I still want you to ask, is there anything wrong with the foundation or the roof? Those are the biggest 2 items that are going to throw numbers off, foundation being the number 1. Occupancy. Is it vacant? Is it going to be delivered vacant? Are there tenants, or is there an owner in the property? Right? Because if you tell me that and you say, hey, I got somebody, I think I might have a seller finance deal. And I go, great. Did you talk to the agent and seller? And you say, nope. Okay. Is it owner occupied? Yes. I'm going to say, next. It's not worth my time. That goes back to the triage. Why? Somebody's probably not going to sell their house and seller finance to you if they need to find another place to live. So it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't fit the criteria, but that's occupancy. That's the second one. The next one is motivation. Why are they selling? Why is that important? Well, it's going to tell us triage. Does it deserve my time now? How motivated are they? Are they in such pain right now that they're going to take a cash offer today? Then I should get on the phone. Right? Or if they say something like, well, they're just testing the market to see what kind of prices come, that's not motivation. And I'm not going to waste my time on it. I had an agent the other day tell me that, oh, we have an off-market property. They won't take any offers. They don't know their asking price, but they said that you can walk it. And I said, kick rocks. That's like that's like me going into a truck dealership to buy a truck. There's no prices on any of the trucks. And then I turn to a salesperson and say, hey, how much are these trucks? And they go, well, make me an offer. I'd walk out the
They're
front door.
asking you to negotiate against yourself and see what
They're
sticks.
they're asking me to waste my time is what they're doing. Right. So that's important motivation. Okay. The next one is price. Actually, I usually do timeline and price, doesn't really matter. But anyways, price. Is the price firm? Is there room on price? It's a yes or a no, or a maybe. If it's firm,
Price is always flexible. They may just be taking a hard stand. You can always renegotiate. You just posted a video on that. So
Yep.
Motivation is really the key here. And understanding the motivation will tell you if the price is negotiable,
It's also going to tell you exit strategy.
right?
Is it a
Exactly.
creative deal? Is like, what do they need the money for? That type of information is really important to your exit strategy. Last one is timeline, which also, again, helps you triage. ASAP is not a timeline, guys. If you hear somebody say ASAP, okay, why are you trying to sell as quickly as possible? Or a good question, write this down. Okay, what would have to happen for you to sell as soon as possible? If they say something like, well, if I get the right price, then their timeline isn't ASAP. It's contingent on the right price. So the timeline is when they get the right price, not ASAP. So if you say ASAP, say, can you get more information on that? So that's the information that I would need to be able to assess whether or not I need to spend time on an opportunity that you bring us.
Rez,
Now,
let me ask you one question here. How much motivation are you capturing with your current analysis?
Not. is the
Okay,
true
okay,
answer.
that's it. Nothing, right? You're
Yeah,
not really,
because-
I mean, you might guess that house being in bad condition, but people live in houses with bad condition for years on end. So that just proves the point. The most important thing you need to know cannot be learned through the kind of paperwork analysis you're doing. You've got to get
Okay.
on the phone and start talking to people. Brent Daniels, whole TTP, talk to people, core
Yep.
value, you need to talk to people. Anyway.
Yeah, and so like Rez, one thing I'll say, and I'm just interpreting you because I can relate to how you're operating. Okay, and so the way that I operate is I have to kind of see the entire picture before I can do anything, right? And so, the truth is you don't need to see the entire picture. You don't need to know how everything works yet. Like I said, my first deal, I didn't even have paperwork. I found somebody that did. I didn't know how the transaction worked. I'm still learning to this day, guys. I learn something new every week. Okay. Gary just taught me something new on a live Zoom inside of PropStream I didn't know. you could change filters. I was like, oh, that's cool.
I
Okay.
hear clearly the guidance of talk, talk, talk. You're not going to get anywhere unless you're talking with people.
Well, you
Okay,
can't,
I
you
believe-
can't build rapport looking at a piece of paper. You can't find people's motivation. All of the important stuff requires conversations with sellers or sellers agents. So that's my point. So
Yeah.
you've got to start picking up the phone and having those conversations. And people, for heaven's sakes, you cannot build rapport in a text.
Yeah.
Don't hide behind text.
Don't do it.
Try to have difficult conversations in text. That's something I see people doing all the time. They're talking about sub-2 and don't have that conversation. You can't text that.
Use text to get them on the phone.
Yeah, text is just the on-ramp to a call.
Yep.
So I'm
100%.
using Privy to build a list to try to get the early listing, the one that's been hanging out for a long time, get on the phone with agents, get on the phone with sellers to delicately, thoughtfully, empathetically dig for comp.
Well,
So what I would do, go ahead, Gary.
Well, I just want to say the first thing you need to do is build the rapport. Sometimes the first conversation is nothing but rapport, and you don't really accomplish everything you want to accomplish. So you have a nice conversation and the person is willing to have a second conversation with you. Then in the second conversation, you make more progress. Don't run people over with your own agenda.
Yeah. And so one thing I would say, you said you were focusing on 60 days on market. If you're doing cash wholesale deals, I would not do that. Okay. I would set up filters inside of Redfin. It's very simple. Whatever county you're in, days on market, less than 7 days, and fixers. So it hits your inbox and you're one of the first. Every day I'd look at my inbox. Those are definitely calls that you're going to make that day. Why? Well, because you want to be the first one to call that agent so that they can hopefully represent you. They don't always do that, and depending upon the state and their brokerage, but if they can, trust me, we have a deal right now. It's on the MLS. Actually, that's the one I just posted on the YouTube about renegotiating price. It's on the MLS. So there's a lot of competition, and that agent is representing both sides. So that's how I'm able to do what we can do. I'm able to negotiate the way that we are because of that. And if you get to them first, you'll have that opportunity. If you have, from my experience, what I'm seeing is that if it's a wholesale cash deal, it's going to go under contract within anywhere from 7 to 14 days on market. If it doesn't, and I tell agents this too, because they'll bring me MLS listings and I'll look at it and I'm like, that's 28 days old. It's not a deal. And they're like, how do you know? And I'll be like, because it's 28 days old. The seller's not motivated. They would have sold by now if they were. There's either a combination of one of two things. They're either not motivated, or there's something with the property that nobody wants to deal with, or a combination of number one and number two. Okay. So I posted a video on this, secrets to wholesaling. Watch it again because I go over the entire process. I'm going to post it right here. I'm going to put it in the chat. Okay. Copy it, watch it later.
Thank you very much. I'll get off.
So
for the
Rez,
next
I
person.
hope you've enjoyed your therapy session today.
Yep.
We're gonna move on. And let
We're like good
Jermaine
cop,
ask a
bad cop.
question. All right.
Bye, Riz.
Jermaine, you're a dark, shadowy figure. There's no light hitting your face.
I feel like he's about to
Well,
get
it's like-
an account.
I have some light, but it's horrible. I hope I'm not echoing. It sounds like
You're
I
all
am.
good, buddy.
All right. Well, it's funny, Patrick, that you really got onto this subject today, because I was going to ask you a question since you were on early. I actually wanted to get a job working for a real estate investor and be a cold caller, work commission only, something like that, just to really get in and learn the ropes. So that is actually my question. How would you find that job?
Okay. So honestly, I don't know the full answer to that. That's the first time I've actually gotten that question. I do have a friend who worked for a legitimate corporate acquisitions company. And so probably Indeed.com or something like that. And what he told me, and this was really interesting to me because I pay my guys like 20%, which in the industry is actually a lot. They pay 2% on the front end and 2% on the back once it actually gets flipped, which is insane. So they're only making 2%. So he wasn't very happy with it, but it is smart. And I think that you're smart to do that. You're smart to jump into a real business, a real acquisition company to see how the wheels turn and to possibly take that and move on to do your own thing. So I think that's a pretty smart approach. Modeling is one of the fastest ways to accelerate your business. It's figuring out who's doing what. That's like why I reached out to Gary and these other guys when I first started, because I wanted to know who was doing deals so I could be in their ear and ask them, like, how does this all work? You know what I mean?
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks
Any
for hanging out
follow
with us.
up on that, or you guess he's good? All right, so we've got a question from Chris.
What's up, dude?
Chris.
Gentlemen, how are you?
Good, man. How are you?
Good, good. The previous call, you talked to a young lady about, well, let's put it this way. I think I've been kind of stalling as to choose a market, the perfect one. You hear so many things. This state, this one has this, blah, 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 blah. You were saying, and also having boots on the ground. Long story short, I think I just decided, and I just want to know, one, is this too big and broad of an area? I went and did 200 miles out from where I live. I'm in Rockland County, New York. It encompasses that area, anything from $60,000 homes to $1 million homes right in Westchester County. One, I want to know, and it would encompass multiple states as well. It would be New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, parts of Baltimore. Is that too wide? Would you narrow it down? Would you look for a high-end market or try to find out what's the most busiest market?
Yeah,
Did you cut out New York City in that?
Yeah, I didn't touch
Just
that.
like pie that out or what?
Absolutely. I don't even like driving down there, trust me.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. So I look at it as like optimizing your time. When I first started, I chose Sacramento market. And what I learned over a long period of time was it wasn't the best choice because although it has like one of the highest liquidities, like highest liquidity points, like the houses in there, that area are trading super fast. And there's a lot of volume. The price points were really low, right? So what I learned was it's very difficult to negotiate lower price points because every dollar really stings when you're negotiating, as opposed to like $1 million price point, right? And then you have your time that you've got to consider because like on one of our last Zooms, what I said was a price point of $1 million or a price point of $500,000. Both of those transactions are going to take the same amount of time and energy respectively, but one of them is going to net you twice as much.
Which one's easier to dispo
The $1 million property.
lately?
Well, so if you were to say 1.5 and 2, then it becomes a little bit tougher because there's a smaller market for it. But that's a great, I'm glad that you added that, Gary. That's also something that you want to consider is the sweet spot. But around the $1 million point, we've got very strong buyers for it. Like we had one buyer buy two $1 million properties in like a 2-week span of time. Same guy, cash, closed in a week. So
But this is California.
this is California.
If you're focusing on Tennessee or North Carolina or South Carolina, it's going to be a different price point.
Right. So the answer is it depends, but the good news is that you've made a decision, right? And going back to what I was talking about earlier, it's that feedback loop. You just got to start pulling the trigger until you hit something. And then when you hit something, you go, oh, damn, I hit something. Great. We're going to keep doing that. And then we're going to tighten that up, tighten it up until you start hitting bullseyes. Right. So if it's you and you're a solopreneur, you also have to take into consideration, like, how much time do I have? What should I be focusing on in terms of the price point? So I think you're off to a good start. I'm not really sure the liquidity. I can check Investor Lift for you. And
Well, I think you want to dial it in a little more, Chris.
I'm in, okay.
Yeah, definitely want to dial it in.
yeah, I would also just
200
look at, like,
miles of radius from Rockland County that's got like half the wealth in the country, you know?
Yeah.
yeah, we've got 10 people. We're focused on Sacramento all the way down. We have a huge region, dude, to be honest. Like, it's huge. But we do prefer areas that are like medium to higher trading volumes and the price points that we really focus on are like 500K and up.
Well, right, again, even my county, I think our median home price is probably about 5 easily. But then we have areas like New City. If you go across the bridge, Westchester, you know, all the golf courses and Rye and presidents live there and everything. So the whole gambit is there. Just, should I stay in New York? I thought about Syracuse. They got companies moving in up there. Am I overthinking this too?
Well, I mean, I think boots on the ground is pretty important. Like there are some deals that I would have never been able to close unless I had somebody there or it was me shaking somebody's hand. So I think that's really important. But I mean, there's this one guy in acquisitions. I'm looking at his stuff right now. They're doing millions of dollars every month. They have no boots on the ground. So it's a possibility, but you got to have legit systems. You know what I mean? But they're direct to seller too. That's something to consider. So what I do know is that like the highest trading areas right now are California, Texas, and Florida
So
in terms of
again,
volume.
would
Well, the whole Sun Belt, really.
Yeah.
see, I thought about that, like Georgia, North Carolina, because like I said, I'm actually back in the process of attaining my real estate license again. I know I could get that in North Carolina as well, but the boots on the ground aspect. So whatever I do, I need to do it now. That's the other thing. I'm tired of procrastinating. I kind of been putting this off and actually using it as an excuse, to be very honest. And it's time to go do this. So I need to make a decision and stick to it.
100%, because every state's different too. That's another thing that you want to consider, right? Like I know California really well now. So, I mean, the transaction itself in terms of managing it, I used to be doing that. Now we're kind of passing that off, but I know now enough to know that somebody's doing their job correctly. And like Atlanta is going to be different than California. New York's going to be different than, you know, Florida. So sticking with one market will also help you learn that state. And then you can apply what you've learned to another market once you've dialed that one in.
Okay.
We're good, Chris?
Yeah.
Good to see you, bro. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Absolutely.
Thanks for your question, Chris. Jeffrey, what you
Hey,
got going on?
Thank you. It's my first time with y'all meeting. I appreciate all your help.
Well, welcome. Welcome.
Thank you. I was listening to the Redfin scenario where you said to do less than 7 days fixer upper. So I pulled that up, and I'm just trying to understand that scenario a little better.
You want to show and tell a little, Patrick? You're amazing with Redfin.
Well, I'll just make it simple. Do you know how to use the Redfin's filters?
Yeah, I just did. I pulled one up. I guess you can't see that though.
I can, and I don't need to. You can switch back over to your face. That's fine.
All
What
right.
I would do is end the filters. It's real simple, Jeff. It's just basically you want to filter for fixers. That's one of the criteria, fixers.
Yeah.
And then you want to. I do single family homes just to kind of narrow it down because that's really the sweet spot. And then from there, it'll have days on market. When you hear us say DOM, that's what we're referring to.
Mhm.
Usually I'll do 7 days. So as soon as it hits the market, like as soon as it hits the market, it's going to hit your inbox. Go to your settings and make sure that you have your email notifications on. The other thing that I'll also do is I don't necessarily like Zillow, the interface. That's just my personal opinion, but I'll use it to stock properties. So if you look at a property and if you click on the little heart icon, it'll
Yeah.
add it to your favorites, and then you can create your email notifications based off of statuses. So if something goes from on market to pending or from pending to off market, it'll email you, which is extremely valuable, especially if you lost a bid and you want to see if another wholesaler and or buyer does not perform, you can see it go back on market.
I guess that's what I don't understand. Like right when it hits the market, am I supposed to go check that it's under market value because it is a fixer upper? Like compare the comps.
Well,
and
if it's a
make sure-
fixer, most likely you're going to be able to get it at a price that you need, because right now with the way that the market is, people aren't, I mean, they're not typically buying fixers. It depends on the market, to be honest with you, but because of the interest rates, they're usually looking for retail ready.
Mhm.
So it's a bigger opportunity. Not only that, if there's a busted toilet in a bathroom and it's coming out into the living room floor, you know what I mean? That's a fixer opportunity. So they're forced to work with investors.
Okay.
Does that make sense? So you're going to have a way easier time negotiating houses like that. When it comes to
Yep.
like really clean houses, typically I'll look at it, I'll ask the agent, are they willing to work with an investor? And it's usually a no, and then I move on.
Okay, that makes sense. Like this one needs paint and tile, so it's like, yeah, that don't need like a whole ton of expenses.
I mean, you could call and ask. It's good practice, and just ask, is there
Okay.
anything going on with the roof, the foundation I need to know about? And if they say, oh yeah, it's got foundation issues, then that's a good bet.
Cool, that makes sense. I appreciate it.
All right.
100%.
I've seen some hands go up and down here, but
Guys, don't be shy. The purpose of this is to give you guys information that you need now, guys.
Chris,
Chris, what's up, dude?
What's up?
How's it going?
It's going pretty good. So I got a property. Seems pretty motivated. And actually he's a little bit more motivated now. So originally I talked to him. The house is worth about 215 ARV. And we had talked originally like about a 180. I'm like, it seems pretty there. I told him, I said, probably in the 160s. So then I did your little underwriting, and I don't have your tool, your fancy tool or anything, but I did watch that video on that. And I come up with around 140, 143 as far as what it is. I say, well, and we've had 3 conversations. He's a friend, so it's a direct to seller, it's off market. And so I think that it's a good price. He's pretty motivated because he went through a divorce, and he's got to get rid of the property, and he's got to be out by the 16th. So he's really got some motivation. He's got like 2 weeks now, and I think it's a cash deal. So it gave me a deeper discount from that 180, and I've already got him down into the 140, and he's willing to do it. So my biggest thing is do I dispo it? Do I sign this deal? I know that if according to Redfin, it says we're 230. I'm trying to be pretty conservative on the price, around 215, somewhere in that area. The comps around it are 235. I found one for 267 exact floor plan, and then one for like 189. So I guess my biggest thing right now is the dispo piece and finding a buyer. It's got a market, but it's not like got a lot of investors and things like that. It's a little bit out in the country, but it's only like 20 minutes from the city. So
Okay.
What would you suggest?
so Chris, one thing I wanted to inject here, and then we'll get Patrick's thoughts. And this is for everybody. These algorithms that Zillow and Redfin and all the other syndicators use to come up with property values, it's like the most inaccurate barometer, thermometer you could ever imagine. I just want to point out to everybody that 2 years ago, Zillow was they were in the iBuyer market, and they took a $500 million write-down on properties they bought based on their estimates.
Yeah, and they fired 20% of their staff because of it.
Right? They $500 million loss they took.
Well, that's why I did that comping piece too. So
Yeah,
looking
you
at those,
got to
because you have
comp,
to
you
do
got to
that.
learn how to comp, you got to do it for yourself. Do not trust those freaking algorithms.
And
That's
those 3
pure
properties were within a quarter
hubris.
mile.
That's pure hubris. And if you find a model match, like you said, exact floor plan within a quarter mile, same subdivision, you got to,
You got
you
3
know,
of them.
3 of them. You can't
Yeah, I
do
got
better
3
than
with-
that. Did you come up with, did Zillow and Redfin agree with your numbers?
So Redfin looks, in my opinion, it looks a little high, 230s. Well, one was 267, one was 235, and the other one was like 197.
So there you have it. Just that spread alone tells you can't trust them.
So those were my comps. But the estimates are 230. So I said, well, if I do 210, take 20 off of that, be conservative. If I take it and go even to 200, 140 seems a pretty decent price. If it was a cash deal, wouldn't be a
Yeah.
lot of holding. I could buy it in, so I wouldn't have any holding or anything like that. But then the dispo piece is kind of the biggest thing of getting rid of it.
Yeah, assuming that you're correct, you're at about 65% ARV at 210. So that's fantastic. That sounds like a deal to me, assuming you're right. And so guys, if you're not paying attention, drop what you're doing, pay attention, guys. What Gary just said is really, really important. I know it seems like blah, blah, blah. When people hear data, they check out, right? But what he said was really important because you're going to hear people like sellers specifically, when you start going to direct to seller, they're going to say, well, Zillow says blah, blah, blah. Redfin says blah, blah, blah. And you got to be ready for that. And so generally what I tell them is like, oh yes, I can see that here. I have that information in front of me as well, but I have to mention that's aggregated data, meaning that they're taking information blindly. And so let me ask you, Mr. Seller, if you were to sell your house, would you think about getting it appraised? Is that something that might cross your mind? Or if you're purchasing, would you think about getting it appraised? And of course, they're going to say yes. And that's when you say, okay, great, because we use the appraisal standards when it comes to valuing homes. And the first step is we find comparable homes just like yours that have sold in the last 3 months. And we run this criteria. And that's how we evaluate the home that we're currently negotiating. Does that sound fair, Mr. Seller? And then you continue the conversation, guys. What he just mentioned is super, super important, guys. What state is this in, Chris?
Missouri.
Missouri. Okay. And then, so this is direct to seller?
Direct to seller. Yeah, it's a friend of mine.
Okay, cool. I mean, we can help you out with it.
Okay.
We don't have established buyers in that area, but in our area, we usually get a contract, we get our contracts assigned in under 48 hours. So I could hand it over to my dispo manager and we can help you out with it.
Okay.
Perfect. Yeah. And the good news is that it's direct to seller. So what
Yes.
that means is that usually sellers, they don't have as good of an idea of how transactions work. And so the timelines are a little bit loosey-goosey and there's not as much pressure to perform in a timely manner as it is with an agent. And, we're not going to they're not going to send us a notice to perform.
So would I just get the purchase contract and the escrow instruction paperwork signed, and then we use a transaction coordinator to do it?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. Hit me up in Circle
Okay.
and we'll send me your contact information and then I'll link you up with my dispo manager.
Copy that. Thanks.
Good work, man.
Okay, thanks, Chris. And Lionel has a hot deal on a multifamily for you, Patrick. I know it.
Lionel's been blowing me up on Circle. What's up, dude?
Hey, this property that I found today, I just want to know if this is something that you're looking for, something like this. Did you get a chance to look at it or not?
Nope. It's a
Okay.
multifamily. Is it vacant or is it
Now, this one here, I have the two. This one here is another multifamily. It is completely occupied. All the tenants are in there. It's a 6-bedroom, 5-bath. It's been on the market since April, and they have it listed for $1,495,000, but they just bought it in 2019 for 1,150.
so there's a note on it? What's the percentage?
She told me they have a chase that shows a chase of $500K on it.
What's the rate?
She didn't have that.
Okay, so there's 50% equity.
Yeah.
Are they open to creative?
I don't know, because what they did, well, I guess the seller gave her instructions, and well, she's really not the agent. There's another agent that's handling it. I have a call in to him too. They want to get you to send a LOI in and proof of funds before they would take it a step further, because they don't want the tenants bothered. They don't want you on site before, to do anything else. So they want to see if you're a serious buyer first.
It sounds like they want cash. And so if there's tenants in place, I'm not giving them cash.
Yeah.
So guys, real important. Again, if you're checked out and you're looking up in space and at your phone, guys, check back in for a second. Because I still get this. I literally still get this from my team. Hey, I got a multifamily. Are you interested? And by the way, Lionel, I appreciate you, bro, for bringing this to me. And I know that you're getting into it, and I'm not ragging on you here. So please don't take it like that.
Yeah.
But I still have team members. They send me this stuff. Hey, are you interested in multifamily? And I go, the answer. And the answer is, it depends. If there is tenants or an owner in a property, can we flip that property, guys? In the chat, yes or no? No, we can't, right? We got bodies in the house. How are we going to flip it? So can we pay cash for it? No, most people won't pay cash for it. And so I think agents and sellers think that there's all these unicorns just out in the field, and they're ready to just pay cash for things, right? That's not how it works. In fact, the investors that I'm working with now, they're liquid for whatever they want to buy, and they will not take a deal like that. Because if there's tenants in place, it's cash flow, and they're asking, when am I going to get my money back?
Yeah.
If it's a flip, they're asking, how much money can I make? So if there's ever tenants in place, guys, doesn't matter what kind of property type it is, Are they open to creative? If it's a no, great. Are they going to deliver this vacant? That's the next question. If they want to deliver it vacant, then I'm a serious buyer.
Okay.
Does that make sense, Lionel?
Even if it's cash, you're still okay with it? If it's cash, even if there's people in place?
No.
If they deliver it vacant, it's a cash deal.
If they
But they-
okay.
They
Okay.
have to deliver it vacant. Look, we have 2 deals right now where we're doing cash for keys and the deposit. We're paying for both of those things. We'll,
Well,
we'll negotiate.
how many units is this, Lionel?
This is 5 units, a total of 5 units.
Yeah,
And
not a lot.
yeah, it's 5 units and it's sitting right by the Lakewood Mall, right on Lakewood Boulevard.
Yeah, I could do $100,000 minus closing costs, minus agent fees, minus transfer tax, whatever, all that. Any costs associated with it, I'll pay it, but it's coming out of the 10%. What kind of condition is it?
It don't show any kind of conditions with it, you know,
Well, that's
seems they
that's
was
the
trying
next-
to be a little too secret about it, you know.
They don't sound motivated to me, Lionel. That
Yeah,
doesn't sound like a motivated
Yeah.
seller to me.
yeah, I just stumbled up on it today. It just kind of popped up, you know, and I was saying, wow, it's like a couple of blocks from my house, you know. So, and I know the place really well. It's like a bunch of apartments on that road there. So, and I just thought that was kind of weird, you know. I seen that it had a very low equity in it, so. it's
Well,
like-
they're at their asking price, there's 50% equity, so that's considerable amount of equity.
I mean, based on what they paid for it and, you know, and trying to get out of it, you know, and,
Yep.
so she told me that basically they just want to get out of it. So I was like, okay, you know, so we'll see what's what. But that other property that's in Lawndale, I found out today that other tenant in the front is going to be moving out on August 5th. So they're going to be moving out and that's going to be up. So I'm still in the process of trying to get that hooked up. You know, I have a message into the realtor too to get in contact with me. So I haven't got back with her yet.
That's the one that you have a friend, right?
Yeah, that's the one with them. So
Or you were unable to get a hold of the seller through your friend?
no, not yet. I am. I'm still working on it though. I'm still working. I haven't counted out yet. You know, if I'm gonna get a chance to talk to him, I'm gonna get a chance to talk to him. So
All right, keep working it.
yeah.
Good job, man. Good job.
Okay.
But that's really important, guys, for those of
Thanks,
you listening.
Lionel.
Make sure that you understand the difference between the vacancy, the tenants, and how to handle that creatively.
Jason, our
Jason,
favorite
what's up,
trucker
dude?
is with us. Patrick,
What's up? What's up, fellas?
what you got for us today, Jason?
Yeah, so I have a property that I walked on in Santa Clarita. It has like a slope remediation. Is that something your buyers would be open to?
Can you repeat that? Because you kind of dropped
Santa
out.
Clarita with what?
A slope remediation. It's
Slope-
like they
Is
had
it
a
on, you mean
landslide.
it's got on a landslide property?
Yeah, exactly.
That may be a tough one to place.
Yeah. We've
Good.
come
Yeah,
across
it's
those as well. And
It's like a 400K spread.
Yeah, I think there's a reason for that.
Yeah, I know.
So just so you know, so we've started to kind of, talk to developers and make contact with developers and get information from them. It all really depends on the area, if it's land, if there's site work and stuff like that. But generally a tear down, what they're looking for is about 30% resale value. So if they tear it down and they rebuild it and it's worth $3 million, they want to buy it for $1 million. Does that make sense?
Makes sense. Yeah.
So if you can find a new build in the area, and also I think it depends on the lot size and how far away from the landslide you can build. So this for me, there's 2 parts to this. One is there's probably less competition on this opportunity because nobody wants to do the work. But the second part is it takes work. Is it worth your time? You got to figure that out as quickly as possible. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Trying to get you something.
Hey man, I appreciate you, bro.
You're welcome.
Your tan looks amazing, by the way, bro.
Oh, it's that Cali sun.
He's out there in the sun, hanging out with us in a Zoom. I love it.
Exactly.
Good to
All
see you, bro.
All right, thanks, Jason. Gary's got some questions for us.
Yes. Patrick, you mentioned that you did some research about texting to agents and getting a 3% response that said that they would want to talk to you, and then 1% of those brought you deals, right?
This was a complete cold outreach campaign and I call it a blind cold outreach campaign, meaning that we basically pulled information from brokerages, regardless of the listing history of that agent, regardless of what their background is, and we just sprayed and prayed. And so those are the numbers that we came up with.
Okay, so I have kind of a unique situation. Just before the Elephant Challenge, I got signed up, the original one, the one in April. I signed up, but then I went to the Astro Blaster and I purchased that. I got a list for San Diego agents. And my thing is that I didn't realize I had to have a business and that there were going to be charges for the phone call outreach that the Astro Blaster was going to do. And so I spent all my money on this. I spent $1,500, which included the Astro Blaster plus a year of use monthly. So I'm in a position where I would like to do something with the Astro Blaster. I need a JV. I need to sell it on owner financing. I need to do some kind of creative, something to recoup some of the money I put in so that I could start my business with an LLC and the bank accounts and all the things that PACE recommends. And so I put it out to the creative Facebook, and Carly said I should ask the Elephant Challenge leaders. So I'm asking you guys if there's any way that you can suggest to help me with that, or something you could think of, or someone that might be interested.
Okay. So here's my perspective on that. Okay.
Okay.
It sounds like your expectations were not met. Okay. And so with anything in any area of your life or any industry, you need to take ownership and get what you need out of the thing. Right. And so what I would do is I would make it clear that, hey, this isn't working. I need help. Who can help me? How do I get my help? And that's the first action that I would take.
From who? Who do I direct this to?
I don't know. I don't own Astro Blaster.
So the people who it was
So let me make
Jamil and Pace are doing a thing.
right. And so I'm here with underneath Pace, and so that's his thing.
Right.
I'm just
right.
Yeah. So what you're using is Go High Level. It's a white labeled version of Go High Level named Astro Blaster. I have my own version of that. It's called Lead Fix. It's the same program. So I set up my own CRM. That all being said, this is just my opinion. I think Astro Blaster is very complicated for the average person. Not to say that you can't handle it, but that's been most people's experience.
No, whatever you're going to say, I accept responsibility for buying it. And so I'm just listening to what you have to say.
Yeah. And this is a SaaS, software as a service program, which means that you will have to pay for text messages going out because that's part of the cost, right? So maybe you didn't understand that. Maybe it wasn't delivered clear enough, but if you're going to continue using it, there's one of two things that you got to do. You got to get what you need out of it and make that clear to those who are providing you that service. Or if they can't hit that target, then you got to talk about compensation and getting your money back and coming to a negotiation that works for both parties.
Okay.
Those are your options.
What do you use for your text platform, Twilio?
No, I don't do anything.
All
I
right.
haven't said
No,
it.
I'm asking Patrick, what are you using for your SMS provider?
So our Twilio account is hooked up. That's
Right.
the back end of the CRM. So
Hey, Patrick, she needs to contact Ethan or Mijos. He's the one that is the top guy on Astro. So she needs to go on Astro and she needs to reach out to Ethan or Mijos and ask him for help, and he'll get on there and he'll help her set up all her stuff correctly so that she can start sending out messages, and they're really not that expensive, like 3 cents a piece. So I think if she reaches out for help through the group, she could probably get led in the right direction, and it'll probably be a lot easier for her.
Thanks for that, Anthony.
Yeah, thank you for that.
Did
And yeah,
you get that information, Gary?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ethan
Gary,
or Mijos?
Gary, this is Mono. I can't also have signed up for Astro Blaster, and there is an option like in the bottom of the screen, a chat button. If you click to that, that's also another way, you know, I can raise a ticket to basically talk to them if it helps.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay,
because I've
thanks,
never
Mo.
set it up or anything when I realized you had to have.
Yeah,
And-
there are a bunch of things. I think you may need to reach out to them to get that set up. You know, there are tags and something, you know, like a little technical, which we will not be able to figure out.
does that answer your question, Gary?
Well, I mean, I appreciate the suggestions. I guess I just have to go to them because it's right now, it's not even something right now, like $60 a month for somebody said they were spending is not even in my wheelhouse to do right now. I mean, I'm working with other elephant leaders. On the Dumbo dial, for instance, I'm taking action. I make agent outreach calls. I am doing, I have a lot of things in the pipeline with Don and Mike, and I'm thrilled to be doing that. And I know it's great to listen to all the elephant leaders. So I'm doing that, and I'm really happy with what I'm doing. I'm very focused. I'm doing it for at least 90 days and maybe more. I go back to my W-2.
Okay, Gary, let me interrupt you.
So
I
yeah,
appreciate you sharing this with me, but let me make it clear. Let's
Okay.
just get down to the root of it, because
Okay.
this is all root level core stuff. You
yeah,
have two options.
okay,
You can stop spending money, or you can find a way to spend money. And that all comes from your decision that you make and you take ownership over, and you got to
Yeah.
reach out to them, the service provider, and you got to have that conversation with them.
okay.
Okay.
Sounds,
And
Yep.
you can do it. Okay. And
I
if you
can-
need more help,
And just
come to
a
these
one
meetings.
deal, if you get one deal out of it, it's paid for, right? Which
Yep.
stops the pain.
Yep.
So, anyway, reach out to the provider.
Okay.
There's not much that any of us can do to help. And I
Keep showing
think,
up, Gary. Okay. We appreciate you.
I think those guys for pitching in. Thanks.
yeah,
Anthony.
thank you, everybody. Really appreciate it.
Okay, great. All
Well,
right,
what's up?
before we let Lionel have a second try, I thought I brought Brock up and
Yeah. What's up, man?
All right, hello. I'm out of Long Beach. I am an agent, and so I do get a lot of text, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like a lot of text.
thank you, thank you, Jamil, thank you. Thank you.
So it
Dave.
is a little overwhelming how many texts you get for people wanting to, give you
Yep.
lead and contact you about stuff. But,
Yep.
just out of curiosity, when you're calling agents, I'm wondering what type of questions you're asking them about, properties that have like 7 days or less on market. What types of things? So I have a couple, I'm looking for a flip for an investor.
Mhm.
And it's been very competitive here in Southern California lately, like stuff's going for way more. And by the way, Jason, I did see that property in Santa Clarita. I would definitely run from that one. That's a scary property. So anyway.
So Brock, your question is what do those conversations sound like?
What is your conversation with calling an agent?
Yeah, that's, I mean, essentially it's an intro and a buy box conversation, and it's a vetting conversation for us because we're wholesalers. We position ourselves as flippers. It is
Right.
bending the truth, but I feel justified in bending that truth because we perform, right? And so essentially what the conversation looks like is I just let them know, hey, look, we're looking to, so that annoying text messages that get sent out, by the way, we've customized our own. And so we have as many custom values as possible. So it would say, hey, Brock, I saw your information on your brokerage's website, and I noticed that you were representing properties in the Long Beach area. I was wondering if you're available to jump on a call. And our purpose is to get them on the call. It's not to continue texting back and forth, right? So that's the way that we've structured things. Once we hit that call, we basically say, look, we're looking for fixture opportunities. We're flipping in the area, and we wanted to see if that's something that you often come across, right? And it's either a yes, no, or maybe. And then from there, we explain what types of opportunities we get from agents. It's either off market, which are really rare. It's either inter-brokerage and also off market, that we're more than happy to work with that agent as a buyer agent with us. Or it's on market listings, which are a little bit less common and successful for us. However, we're still willing to work with them as a buyer agent if they can go to bat for us and they have information and or leverage in the conversation. Now, if it is in off market that they source, we will not only, in some circumstances, we've paid front end commissions, right? Buyer and seller side. And then we will relist with them. We can sign a listing agreement with them inside of escrow if they want to, whatever makes them comfortable, right? If it is an interbrokerage listing, we might relist with them, but we don't always guarantee it. It's a negotiation. And if it's an MLS listing, it's probably not going to get relisted with them. We're just very honest with them. So that's kind of how we structure the deal. Then the conversation becomes about what we're buying. And it's very broad, to be honest with you, because we're wholesaling everywhere from Sacramento to San Jose and from LA down to San Diego. Really, we're looking for medium to high level liquidity points. We stay close to the medium price point, all for liquidity purposes. We pay all cash. We can close as soon as escrow finishes the paperwork. We're also flexible with how we close. We can extend for 60 days. If it's more than that, then we might need to renegotiate price. We don't ever do rent backs. We don't want tenants. We'll pay cash for keys, so on and so forth. So those are the kind of back and forth that happens. And then I would say like 3% of the time I get an agent who knows his shit, which I'm sure you're fully aware that that's usually the percentage, right? And then they'll go in deeper and like start to really drill me and vet me, which, you know, we have all the answers for. I can tell them how we underwrite our deals. You know, we've been the truth, but you know, I know developers, I know people who are flipping. So I position myself as partners with them.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then, you know, just a kind of a corollary question. You know, you had mentioned from the beginning, you know, like I said, this is my first time here on this, and I've read Pace's book and gone through some of his videos and stuff like that.
Cool.
So I'm familiar with a lot of it, but just, so, you know, I'm actually with my brokerage, I'm not allowed to wholesale. I mean, I am allowed to wholesale, but they highly
What brokerage
discourage
are
it.
you with? What brokerage?
Equity real estate. I just transferred from Remax because I had to hold flips for 6 months, which is just an eternity. So I didn't want to do that. So I switched to a brokerage that's much more investor friendly. But they still are kind of, you know, not really a big fan of wholesaling.
Well,
So,
wholesaling is a conflict, you know, of interest, you know,
Yeah.
I get it. Like I'm with Fathom. They're happy for me to work with wholesalers,
Mhm.
which I do. I do a lot of assignment deals for people, but I get why, you know, why are you wholesaling when you can get a commission?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So-
I mean, because you're basically, when you're wholesaling, they consider you to be the buyer,
Right.
you know.
Well, you are the buyer. I mean, you're flipping a contract
Right.
in a sense. So I get why that's a huge conflict. And when it comes to E&O, think about, you know, the risks there.
Right. That's what they're worried about, you know?
Right. Of course, that's what they're worried about. They're worried everything is calibrated to E&O.
Especially in California.
Oh, yeah. Crazy.
But my question is like, so your whole paradigm is starting off at wholesaling. Like you know, what would be like the next, maybe like just do the same thing, but not as a wholesaler, just looking
Buy
for
and hold, buy and hold. You know, wholesaling, you're targeting mainly flips,
Right.
right? But
Yeah.
there's nobody's stopping us as realtors from buying property and renting them.
Right.
Yeah, and the way that I presented it today, Brock, is basically most people, they come into it, they're trying to get experience, they're not ready to flip, that's for sure, and they don't have much money, right? So to answer that question, it's how do we essentially create money out of thin air, right? And that's what really wholesale allows you to do. So this is a very interesting topic. We actually talked about it on another Zoom because a lot of people ask me, should I get my license? And I tell them for what purpose, right? Like you actually could create a conflict for your end goal by getting a license, right? So, you know, I think it all really depends if you're allowed to do it and you're doing it with the reason that agents and people don't want to deal with wholesalers is they don't perform. That's the number one reason, right? And that results in a lot of wasted time.
Yeah.
And so if you're not wasting time and if you're performing, then what's the problem? All right, that's how I look at it. And I'm not an agent, but I understand where Gary's coming from, especially with how many agent conversations I have. There is a line in the sand, a fiduciary duty. So yeah, you're kind of dancing back and
Right.
forth.
Yeah. That is the big difference, is the fiduciary duty you have to the seller, and then, you know, of getting a fair price. And sometimes those are pretty steep discounts, you know. So
Rock, I look at it this way. If you're an agent, if you're a licensed agent wholesaling, and you're working with end buyers at all, you're going to be guilty until proven innocent. But
Right.
there are brokerages that just do wholesaling. So
Yeah.
if that's your passion, you could hang your license with one of those, like a New Western or Fair Trade or these, and they're massive outfits. They're turning over, you know, tens and tens of, sometimes hundreds of properties a month.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're massive operations.
You can make the same amount of money as an agent sourcing these deals and turning them over to wholesalers. In fact, we've come into contact with some really savvy agents where they have like a vetting commission, like they gouge us on our first deal, which, you know what, whatever, I'll play ball if that's the way they want to do it, as long as we hit our numbers. And so if you're like I said on the call, when I'm talking to agents, if they source their own deals, they're going to get paid on the front and the back. You know, so you're making, you know, and we've had an agent make 7.5 points on a deal.
Right.
That's making money. And I tell agents, look, if you really want to make money with us, source your own deals. And so it's really a hard concept because not a lot of agents, I'm not saying this is you, but not a lot of agents want to do the work. They don't want to do ads. They don't want to knock on doors. We've got agents who are knocking on doors, you know, and it's like, we don't ask them to do that, but if they do, they're going to make way more money than anybody else in their brokerage.
Right.
You know,
I'll do anything. So I have no limitations of what I'll do. So
yeah, and that's it. It's just finding distressed properties. And then really, I mean, if you come to us, we're going to link you up with the strongest buyers in the area. Like, we know who they are. We do deep prospecting. We look at public record. We know what they bought, when they bought it, for what. And when we have inbound, we vet. We don't waste time with wholesalers and people who are trying to double close on us. We want to know what's your entity? Give me the documents. What projects have you worked on? And if we even have a faintest hint that they're not going to perform, we're like, we already have it under contract. Sorry, this one's gone.
okay.
So
All
that's
right.
how we
Thank you.
operate.
Hey, thanks for a great question, Brock.
Yeah, it's actually good to have another agent on here.
Yeah, hope to see more of you in the near future. And Lionel, this is going to be really quick so we can get to Julie, right? We want to finish on time today. We only got 30 minutes left.
Yeah, really quick. Do you do mobile homes by any chance?
Me personally, no.
Okay.
If they're attached to land, they're, you know, go for it. I mean, if otherwise you're an automobile dealer and you're using, and if you don't own the land, then you got to deal with the mobile home park bureaucracy to let people live there.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, Lionel, I don't fully know how it works. So because of that, I don't focus on it.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, so we're gonna, Julie's gonna be our last question. Julie, would you start your video, please? Thank you, so I can spotlight you.
Hi.
Hey.
Thanks for, how are ya?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm gonna step into a room because guess what? My dog's just decided to start barking for no reason. Sorry
Oh, we're
about
getting
that.
a tour of Julie's house?
That's right.
Is this an
But
inspection?
unfortunately, it's not for sale.
Oh, too bad.
Everything's
so-
for sale, Julie. It's just the
Well,
right
that's
price,
right. The right price, right? So not only am I a newbie baby elephant, I would say I'm an embryo baby elephant.
Embryo.
So I'm a super baby. So I'm just wondering, what's the best way to start? Like, Gary, I heard you talking about wholesaling, creating money out of thin air. My ultimate goal is to be able to do a buy and hold, right? And so I'm confused as to whether or not I should be contacting agents based on what I've heard here about, you know, making relationships, or trying to contact sellers to get off market leads. I mean, or I've heard people in the PACES group say, oh, well, they just hand me a list of numbers, right?
Julie, let me stop you here. Do you already
Okay.
have a bank account to put money into buy and holds?
I've set up an LLC.
Do you already have, I mean,
Uh,
even creative deals where with low entry fees still require some cash to get into property. Do you have a bank account that would allow you to start buying and holding property?
So I have, I don't
want to know
is
how
a
much money you
HELOC.
have in the bank, but I just want to know
No.
if you have
I
money
have a
that.
HELOC, but it's not, so a HELOC obviously isn't cash, right?
Well, it's
Well, sure it is.
expensive cash.
Yeah.
Right now, it's
ex-
expensive cash.
Right, right. So I don't think that that's the wisest way to go and grab a property, right? And I'm better off saving the money I need for a down payment.
Well,
Now, if you
that's
guys
why I'm
think
asking, I'm
otherwise-
asking you that pointed question. So if you need to start generating cash, because you
Mhm.
don't
To
have
get
it
the down
yet,
payment.
then the answer
Mhm.
is wholesaling is the best way to
Okay.
start, because everything else is going to require cash.
I'm gonna
Right.
use one of Pace's lines. I think Julie sneezed, or she was a knucklehead and she was late to the meeting because we went over that in the beginning. But that's okay, Julie. I'm gonna post this into the chat. There's 2 videos: Secrets to Wholesaling and Getting Started with Creative Financing.
Okay.
The reason that I'm posting this stuff, guys, is that like we want to get you guys up to speed, and we've had these conversations in detail, which is totally fine, by the way. I don't mind talking about it, but I want to give you
Yeah.
these references so that you can check them out and like watch them over and over again. Okay. But I agree with Gary. I think that, you know, there's a saying, you can go broke buying good deals, right? And so even if you have capital, like if you're not making money, you're just going to run out of cash. So wholesaling is a fantastic way to do that. And once you, like right now, we've performed with sellers. I have in my team. So what I've done is I've started conversations with those sellers, and I said, hey, I know that we just performed on this property. We just paid you $800,000 or $1 million. Are you interested in making 12% back on your money? And then I get access to cash because they know we performed, we brought cash to escrow. They know that we're making money, right? And they go, well, hell, I don't know what I'm going to do with this $1 million that I just got in the bank. Yeah, okay, I'll make 12%. And so I'm able to take that money and then go zero out of pocket on a buy and hold, right?
Okay.
So the evolution, however, is closing transactions. And what's the fastest and quickest way to do that? That's the question to ask and answer. And in Gary, in my opinion, I think it's wholesale.
Anyway, it's more than just our opinion.
Yeah.
Okay, so
It's
does that
not.
help a little, Julie?
It does. It does. Because originally, I was with one of those gurus you're talking about. And it was all about find a deal, find a deal, find a deal. Spend lots of money on marketing because it will for sure get you a deal, right? And so get a fixer-upper through that marketing, and then just get into it that way, fix it up, and there's your, you can decide at that point, are you wholesaling it, or are you keeping it and renting it, or choose your exit strategy after you've bought the deal. And so when I presented the conundrum about the down payment, that particular person was like, yeah, you use your HELOC, right? No
All right.
problem. But then I'm
And
looking at
hopefully
it and I'm
you
like,
hopefully you've dumped that guru now, right?
well, I just look at
Fired
it and I
that
go,
guru, hopefully.
I'm spending 10% on the HELOC, and then however DSCR or whatever the loan is on the rest of the 80%, like you're like leveraged like way too much. I
Maxed out,
feel.
yeah.
It
not gonna
gets
cash flow.
hard. It gets hard to cash flow with that.
And you're not in a lending environment to get out of that situation. So it doesn't make-
Exactly. So
Anyway,
I thought
guys.
if I wholesale, I can kind of get that down payment together.
Let me
and
make
have
it
less
quick
risk.
and snappy and right to the point, Julie. I can almost guarantee that you have not been consistent enough to close the
Okay.
deal. And where that starts is something that's not going to cost you a lot of money. And I think direct to MLS is the best way to do that. So once you've proven to yourself that you can consistently do that, that's going to help you develop systems. And then, and only then, can you start to implement marketing, because if marketing is working, you're going to have consistent leads coming in. And if you don't have a consistent way to negotiate and close those leads, you're just going to burn through it. Okay.
All right.
All right.
So a little housekeeping here.
Thanks.
We had to reorganize the events inside a circle. So those of you who signed up for Monday, you need to go back and sign up again. So go back, and if you want to join us for Mondays, remember every Monday, every Wednesday at 3:00. We're over our time limit and I've got other commitments, so we're going to end it here. Everybody, thank you, Patrick, as always.
Gary, it was amazing hanging out with you, buddy.
And we enjoy hanging out with all of you. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you guys for hanging out with us.
We'll see you Monday, hopefully.
See you Monday,
Take
guys.
care. Bye.
Bye.